Hey guys, it's Daniel. This is my 2007 Ford Mustang, and I have a leak. When it rains, I get wet. So basically, what I'm doing is I found out, hopefully, the fix for it. But when it rains, water drips from where the gas and brake pedal are, from above them down, and gets my flooring all soaking wet, and it also drips on my feet occasionally, which is how I actually figured out where this leak was coming from. So, underneath the cowl panels, which are these two panels, are little grommets that these panels actually hook into, and those grommets have a gasket around them, and the gasket over the years has gone bad, gotten dry rotted, deteriorated over time. So I've gotten new ones. You can find them. The link will be in the description for where I got them. You need to do 10 of them. There's 10 of them under these panels that have to be replaced. So they're like $4 to $5 a piece, depending on what kind you get. The first step you need to do this is actually get the arms off. The windshield wiper arms off, because the only way you can get under this panel is to get those arms off. So if you don't know how to do that, click on this video and I'd show you how to get them off, because it is kind of tricky and it does require some special tools and stuff. But once you've gotten them off, I'm taking you through the rest of the steps to fix this leak problem. So the cowl panels are attached by 4 little plastic push pins. There's 2 on this side and 2 on that side. To get them off, you pretty much just need a flat-headed screwdriver. Let's take a closer look. Alright, so I've gotten a close-up view of what these clips look like. There's a middle piece and then there's an outside washer, and the middle piece has to pop out of these washers in order to get the actual washer out. So what you have to do is stick the screwdriver inside the little like circular area where the washer is and push up on the screw, and you can pull it out quick and easy. So it's underneath there, push it up, you see it pops out right there. You can just grab it with your fingers and pull it out, and then you just push up on this washer and it pops right out too. Keep both of these pieces because you're going to need them to put them back on, the panels back on. You can get new ones if you want, because they get kind of easily damaged as well. So you repeat that process on all 4 of them until all 4 of them are off, and then we'll take you back to the next step. Alright, once you've removed all 4 of the retaining washers, you're actually ready to take the panel off. Again, this is called the cowl panel. Kind of weird, but it took me a little while to figure that out, so in case it helps you, cowl, C-O-W-L. Basically, there's 4 arms on these that hook into those grommets that I was talking about earlier. All you have to do is lift up on them and kind of spin them and rotate them until they just kind of pop out of place. One is usually over top of the other one, and this car happens to be the passenger side is over top of the driver's side. So I'm going to take it off first, and again, you just kind of grab it and lift up and shimmy it until those little arms snap off. And you just have to hook it. So, oh, there's actually 5 of them, so my mistake there. So these are what I'm talking about. These arms fit into those little grommets, which I'll get a close-up of for you in a minute. So you kind of just have to snap it out of place. It doesn't damage it at all. Just don't really yank on it. They should come out pretty easily. Do the same thing to the other side to get it off, and then we'll take a look at the grommets. So this is a perfect example of what I was talking about. This is the furthest grommet on the passenger side, and you can see right here how over the years this gasket has kind of deteriorated and isn't really sticking to the metal of the car, and so water is able to just flow right down that and go into the hole and consequently drip down into where you sit, where on the driver's side and on the passenger side. So it can happen on both of them. Basically what we're going to do now is replace these pieces. So there's 10 of them across the whole windshield of the car that need to be replaced. and we have to get them out. We have to clean the surrounding area, put the new ones in, and then put everything back together. This is the replacement piece. You can see the part number right here, and again, I will have a link in the description to where you can get these, where I got them from. And what's cool about these things is they are actually heat sealed activated. So once we put them in, you actually hit it with a heat gun and it activates the gasket around it, and you push it down and it seals that whole hole, which is really good for water protection. So I'm going to get another flathead screwdriver and I'm going to work on prying this grommet out. Okay, so I got a flathead screwdriver, and basically how these grommets work is there's like a push pin on either side of them. So all you have to do is push on one side of them and it'll push the pin in, and the grommet should pop right out. At no point in this project should you be excessively tugging, yanking, or pulling on anything. The panels should come off quick and easily. You shouldn't be yanking on them or pulling very hard, because you can damage those actual little arms that go into these grommets. Same thing with this. You don't want to actually stick the screwdriver in this hole ever. You can just get to it from the side, just like this. Push in, pop out. And you repeat that 10 times across the front of the car. Alright, so once you have gotten all the grommets removed, I'm now going to clean this whole area. So any cleaner slash degreaser, fine for that. Just make sure whatever you use, it's not going to harm the windshield or the paint if it gets on that. But basically I want to clean off all this gunk and grime that's built up, make it so we have a clean surface to work with, and so that the new grommets will adhere nice and cleanly to the holes. So that's what I'm working on right now. Right side is done, clean, nice, new looking. Left side is not yet done, so I'm going to work on that next. Again, any cleaner slash degreaser should work fine. Just make sure whatever you use, you read and make sure that it's not going to damage your paint or your windshield at all. Alright, so as you can see, this whole area has been cleaned now. Where those little holes are, that's where the grommets go. I've degreased and cleaned everything the best I could all around them. There's a little bit of dirt left on the corners that, you know, I just couldn't get to. Here's something I just noticed, and take a look at this. There's a seam right there. You can kind of see like little driplet looking things. So that is glue that when they made the car, they glued. It's like an adhesive that they use to seal the two pieces that come together right there. Now what I've noticed, and I'll try to do this and hold the camera at the same time, but these little pieces have been coming off just like that, and it is revealing that seam again. And again, this is two pieces of metal that have been put on top of each other. So in addition to replacing these grommets for further water protection measures, I'm gonna run a bead of silicone along this whole edge and make sure that that's sealed off as well as possible, because that could potentially be a place where water could get in as well. So just for a side note, in case you guys want to do that, you might want to look into it. But again, these pieces are dry and rotten too, so silicone along this edge across the whole front of the car. Again, that edge follows the whole thing, so I'm going to clean that up and silicone that after I put the grommets on. So if we take a closer look at these new grommets, you'll see this gray outline. That's that heat seal material that we're gonna use the heat shrink gun on and get a good seal so that the water can't get in it. Right now I'm just gonna snap them all into place real quick, and then we're gonna go on to the heat shrink part. You'll feel them snap in pretty firmly. It's kind of like just putting a button together. They just snap right in place. And there you go. They're all in. Okay. Disclaimer. This is a heat shrink gun. Okay? Puts out a lot of heat and you can burn yourself. You can burn yourself really badly, especially if you touch this metal end when it's hot. Okay? It's just like a hot pan. You also want to be careful that you don't damage your car. Very important, you don't get too close to these things, because one, you can burn them, you can scorch your paint, you can undo the adhesive that is gluing your window in place. You want to be really careful, use a safe distance. You're doing this at your own risk, okay? So if you mess up your car, not my fault. I'm simply showing you the way that I'm doing this. So, heat shrink gun, hardware store, $18. Done deal, the right tool for the job. So this is how I'm going to do this. I'm going to put my heat gun probably about 6 inches away from where the actual grommet is, and you'll see in the video I might adjust a little bit, but I'm going to be really careful that I don't heat up this paint too much and I don't heat up the adhesive on the window right here. Obviously you're going to do it a little bit, but the idea is to not do it to the point that it undoes anything or damages anything. I also have a flathead screwdriver, and what this is for is after these things heat up, they get kind of soft. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the flathead screwdriver to push on them and make sure that the adhesive actually adheres well. Put a little bit of pressure on it, give it that good tight seal. So I'm going to go one by one down the line and do all of them as best I can. Again, most important thing is to make sure you don't damage the paint or the windshield in this, and you do that by maintaining a safe distance between the heat gun and the car. This actually has a low setting, which is what I'm using right now, so that's why I'm a little bit closer. I'm going to see if it's going to work. And you can kind of see the gasket actually turns kind of shiny when it's hot. So once you see that the gasket's kind of shiny and the plastic starts to kind of mold, at that point you should be able to push down on it and give it a tight seal. So again, hopefully you can see in the video that that is kind of soft right now, and I've put pressure on it now, just a little bit. You don't have to push very hard. You put pressure on it just enough so that the actual gasket, you'll see it kind of bubble around the parameter. That's what you want. That means that it's adhered. It's going to cool down now, and it's going to stay in that position, which is good. So repeat that process on all the rest of them. Alright, so I'm going to get you a close-up of one so you can see what I'm talking about. Right now you'll notice that the gasket itself is kind of, it's all right angle, straight 90 degrees. You'll notice that after it starts heating up, it gets soft, the edge is kind of round, and again it gets like a glossy kind of like overlayer, and that means that it's ready to be pushed down in place. So again, I have a low heat setting gun. Hopefully if you get one, it has this different settings too. I'm just getting about 3 to 4 inches away from it and using the low settings. So. And you can see how it's kind of getting rounded right now, and the black piece is actually starting to kind of push down into the gray part. So this one's pretty much ready to be put in place. And you'll see when I push down, it'll kind of bubble out around the sides, like so. Kind of like playing with Play-Doh. Again, you just have to put a little bit of pressure. That gives it a good seal, and you do that to all of them. The hardest ones that I've found so far are in the very, very, very corner, right next to the hinge of the hood. And again, you want to be careful you don't mess up your windshield or the paint, so just keep that in mind. But you do kind of have to hit the windshield and the paint a little bit in order to get the corners, I found out. So that's the only problem I'm having so far. Alright, I finished all of them, so they're all heat sealed in place now. I'm going to let them cool, make sure that they're fully cooled off before you try to mess with them or move them at all, because you can burn yourself and you can also mess up the positioning of where they are, and you don't want to do that. So I'm going to let them dry or cool off for probably about 15-20 minutes, and then come back. In the meantime, I'm going to be working on this seam again. I'm going to get off all of the excess adhesive and get it cleaned up to put a bead of silicone on it. Alright, you guys. The grommets have dried, and you can see that they're actually hard, like pretty friggin' hard, rock hard. They're not moving around in place, so check all of them. You don't want that to happen. If they are moving for some reason, you need to take it out and replace it again. Now, at this point, the leak should be fixed, okay? For further measures, I'm going to do a couple extra steps, but if you guys don't want to do this, that's fine. You've done the main part, main problem. You can put your panels back on, the wipers back on, put everything back the way it was, and then you're good to go. What I'm going to do now is take this silicone. Okay, this is a Permatex automotive grade black silicone, and I am going to silicone this seam right here, because this is where those two pieces of metal meet. In addition to that, since I'm an overachiever, I'm going to silicone around the perimeter of each of these as well. Okay, because I really don't want to have to take these panels back off with my wiper blades or anything. So further measure, that's what I'm going to do. It's not going to be the prettiest, obviously. This part of the car is not seen, so I don't really care. But I'm going to silicone around each of these, and I'm going to silicone this seam. Then I'm going to let it dry overnight, and I'm going to work on putting everything back together tomorrow. Hey guys, it's Daniel. It's the following day, and I siliconed around the grommets, as you can see. And I also siliconed that seam that I was talking about earlier right here. So I'm pretty satisfied with how everything turned out. Grommets are been heat sealed in place, and I siliconed around them just for extra measures, and we're pretty much at the point where we're putting things back together. So our next step is to get the cowl panels, which are the black panels that sit on top of the windshield there, and put them back on. So go ahead and grab those and we'll work on putting them back in. Side note, these are the cowl panels that go across the bottom part of the windshield on your car. They're made out of that black plastic that you know, you see on a lot of cars. So what I'm going to do is actually spray paint these with a high heat tolerant spray paint to make them look pretty, and you know, because this half of these panels do show on the car, and I'd like mine to be nice and pretty and black looking. So for a side note, you are more than welcome to do that as well. Alright, so we're going to start with the driver's side, because that's the side that actually fits underneath the passenger side. So it's just a matter of making sure that the arms right here get back into those grommets and they actually kind of snap into place. So you just kind of have to fit it around the hinge of the hood, get it in its little nook right there, and then you have to fit it over top of where the wiper arms go. And once it's generally set in place, the arms kind of just line in right there, and with a little bit of pressure, actually hurt them snap into place. The grommet holes on the front are lined up again. So that panel's in place, and then we're going to do the passenger side as well. Passenger side's going on the same way. You just got to get that corner in where the hinge of the hood is first. And you can kind of see under how to line up those little arms, and they're actually all already lined up right where those grommets are that we replaced. So all you really have to do is get them all lined up and push them into place. A little bit of pressure, and you can actually hear them popping in. That means that this panel is locked in place. These two panels locked together in the center there too. And now we put our 4 retaining clips in, and that keeps the panels to the car. So these, again, just line them up with the hole, push them in. There's 2 parts to each one. You push the washer in, and then you push the little screw back in too. These actually need replacing sometimes because they actually get bent. And the panels are back in. So, next step is to put our wiper arms back on, and I cleaned the actual studded rod here, or threaded rod, off with a wire brush because it was pretty corroded. But depending on how bad yours is, you might want to do the same or not. But that'll make it easier for me to put the blades back on and actually sleeve them over those threaded areas. Alright, our last step is to put our windshield wipers back on. We took them off because we had to get underneath the panel. The only way to get under the panel was to remove them so we could take it off. Now we're left with this threaded stud sticking out. It has serrations going vertically as well as a threaded stud in the middle. So we need to line up and press firmly on the actual arm of the blade to make sure that it presses down over top of that tapered arm. What I'm going to do, because it was a really pain in the ass to get that off, and if you don't know how to do that, you can watch my other video on where I actually remove them. This is a product called Tef Gel, and it's an anti-seizing and corrosion eliminator lubricant. I'm going to put it on those serrations right there, as well as the thread of the stud, because it was really corroded and locked up. So I'm going to apply a little bit of that. If you get this stuff, it's really sticky, so don't put your fingers on it at all. But I'm going to apply that, a little bit of it all around, so that everything stays nice and corrosion free in case I ever need to remove it in the future. Now that I have put the Tef gel on the arm, I actually have my wiper arm here, and I'm going to put it back on. And you want to put it back on in the position that you took it off at. So mine was in a position where it's, you know, not being used, and you kind of have to make sure that when you put it on, you make it so that the arm is flush, so it slips on over it, and you want to be able to see that whole stud, the whole stud right there. But yeah, sometimes you have to press on the spring and it kind of levels the arm out, and you just kind of wiggle it into place, and it finds it, kind of like finds it on its own, because you'll feel it lock up. And then once you have it on finger tight, so to speak, you got to put the nut back on, and when you put the nut back on, it tightens the whole arm down. So I upgraded a little bit and got stainless steel hardware instead of the old rusty galvanized or zinc, whatever they put on it, factory. Got a stainless steel lock nut for it too. I believe it's a M10. I've forgotten what it was when I got it, but I did. It is definitely metric. So the thread on this one is messed up a little bit, the stud. That's why that's not going on all the way. So what I'm gonna do, it's on there as tight as it's gonna get by hand, so I'm gonna go ahead and use the wrench, and hopefully there's just a little burr on that thread, and I'm going to just go right over it. But yeah, so it just loosened up right there perfectly. So we tighten it down. So now it's tight, but it's not pushed down all the way. So I'm going to tighten it even more, and there should be probably about 1/8 of an inch of the threaded stud sticking out from the nut. So I'm going to just tighten it, and you don't want to overdo it because obviously you don't want to break it. But I can definitely feel that it's getting tight, so yeah. That is almost 1/8 of an inch. Yeah, almost 1/8 of an inch. A little bit less. Wiper arm is on. It's secure. I can feel that it's not moving anywhere. Lock nut is in place and locked in. Final touch is to take that rubber cap, put it on there for good luck, and I'm done. So we fixed the leak, hopefully. Now all I'm going to do is just wait for it to rain really good one day, and that's going to be the real test. But I feel fairly confident that what I did is going to work, and I hope that you guys found this video helpful and useful. If you did, feel free to like it and subscribe. Also feel free, if you have any questions, to comment. I'll do my best to answer all of them that I can. But for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.